Okay, it is August 14. I haven't really worked out the outline for the scene that comes next, but I have fleshed out the characters involved. Okay, so this is how I tend to work out these kinds of conversations and scenes when I hit the block. I sit down and I go through each character in the scene, or at least each character with a speaking role, and then I work out who they are if I only have like a bit of an idea as to the answer to that question. A lot of the times in cases like this, I only have their name, their role in the story, what they do for a living, or who they're connected to, and I don't really have a very concrete idea regarding their personality or their voice or their history, because I let them write themselves, and then when I hit the block like this, I sit down, and then that's when I really flesh out things like personality, voice, some bits of history explaining their relationships with other characters in the scene or in the among the general cast. And I base a lot of this from ideas that have come to the surface while I was writing and from what's already on the page. So part of that is what I did yesterday. And then the other part of what I did yesterday was actually figuring out what the characters think of each other, especially since this is my main character's first introduction to these characters. So it's a lot of like what they think of my main character, what does my main character want out of them, what they want out of the conversation, or what they want to do, like what's driving the conversation on their part and on my main character's part. So that's what I worked out yesterday, and I finished it. Funnily enough, my characters, I gave them a bit more shipping potential, not with my main character, but like among themselves or with a related character. Well, I was fleshing out their histories and what they think of each other, and I don't know if I should call them queer-coded, because it's very ambiguous and they can just be very devoted to each other. It's just that I know what fandom is like I grew up in fandom. I surrounded myself in fandom for like so long, so I know what it's like. And I don't know what to do about it. I'm gonna keep it in there because I think it's fun and I think it fleshes out the world. But actually, I kind of look forward to other people's reactions once I actually write it and flesh these out over the course of the novel. So something to be excited about, I guess. I also wrote a bit last night. I only wrote about like 200 words, and it's not even as like a continuation of what I already wrote. One of the feedback that was given to me was that the chapter felt directionless, and so yesterday, instead of doing what I said I'd do and just finish the chapter before applying the feedback, I actually ended up applying the feedback instead of continuing the chapter. Which is just, yeah. Okay, so what I did was that I went to the beginning and then I added, okay, why am I here? What do I want to do? In the point of view of my main character, of course. And why do I want to do it, right? So before yesterday, my chapter started with my character already walking through the streets of Isengel, which was her destination. But then, while I was rereading my first two chapters and then segueing into the third chapter, I also realized that the transition was a little abrupt. So I ended up combining the feedback and my attempt to make the transition feel less abrupt, right? So I added maybe 200 words, 180 to 200 words of an should I call it an introductory? It's just like a segue into what I already had written, although I did have to end up revising that so that the transition smooths out, and keeping the descriptions. And so I had, instead of starting the chapter with my main character already walking through the streets, I had my main character arrive and then have her little what do you call that, inner monologue in her head, thinking like, yeah, it's already this day and I only have this many days left. I need to do this and I need to do this. I added that little section to add some direction to the chapter. Although obviously, like, it'll take a while for her to actually do that because reasons. And then it's kind of implied that, like, she's thinking that while walking through the streets, and then something happens, she gets pulled out of her thoughts, and then cue description and the rest, and what I had already written, right? So hopefully that works better. I don't know if it does. I think it does, but what I think isn't always what the reader thinks. And actually, I look forward to seeing what my feedback partners will think about how I changed it and how I dealt with the feedback. I would like their input. I actually, like, after thinking about it more and after reflecting and after journaling a lot, really, yesterday, I realized that really I don't know if I should say offended, but that emotional reaction that I had yesterday, it was, emotional. It was driven by, like, I was just hurt, I guess. I was unprepared for the feedback, and so it hit me more emotionally than it usually did. And so my complaints were all driven by that, and I'm feeling much better now because the feedback was very constructive. Like, I will not deny that, because I agreed with all of the feedback. I was just quite affected by it, like hurt. Which, it's a good thing that I didn't actually go off on the guy. Not that I would. Hopefully, I would never, because he did mean well, and I don't want to destroy his experience of reading my story as it developed. I think from this experience, I just learned that before responding to feedback, I mean, like, especially negative feedback, I should probably sit down and reflect on it and journal on it first and figure out why I feel whatever I feel, negative thing I feel, and then respond. I knew this already, but it's hard to apply. I'm just a lot more emotionally driven, I guess, than I like to think, which goes for everyone in the world, I'd say, or like most people, 95% of people in the world. But yeah, it's just a thing. And it's just a thing I have to learn how to deal with, especially since I have set myself on the path of writing. So I'm glad I had this experience. I'm thankful for the feedback. It was very useful feedback, actually. And yeah, I look forward to finishing this chapter and seeing what they think. So I don't know how much writing I'll get done today specifically, since it seems like I'll have another busy day and my writing time will be affected by my having to pick up my sister from school. So hopefully I still get some writing done. I'm actually kind of in the process of revising a bit of my existing draft so that it fits with the character developments that I had planned, I had worked on yesterday. So after that's done, I'll continue writing, and I don't know when that will be. I don't know how much I'll get done today. Hopefully I will at least hit 500 words, but we'll see. I'll update you guys again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.